blah, 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 blah. Can you hear me now? So totally boring, annoying. So I went along and talked a lot, and nobody could hear me. So yeah, not sure that is a win for anyone or a lose, but still, okay. Let me try. Let me try to do my 3-minute talk again. I never mind. I'm going to work on Tiny Curl today because Tiny Curl is my little effort. I blogged about it, I think, this weekend. It's an effort to just disable a lot of features in curl, allow you to build a curl with much fewer features enabled, basically switch off everyone one by one, the ones you don't want or need. We already have this set up in curl, so it's not a new idea, but I've worked on adding more knobs, basically saying so that you can switch off more features that you might not want in a particular tiny build. So my effort then have been to make sure that we can disable more features that are possibly not wanted on a focused embedded systems tiny curl situation. I've focused on HTTPS and GET because I don't know. That's what I hear some users who want to have. I just want a little library on my target, and I just want this. So, and I want it to be within or lower than 100K on disk for the TLS library and curl. And I think I might be there, but I've only so far done my work for FreeRTOS, building it, working with the FreeRTOS simulator. So I built it for that simulator without build errors, so I know that it can actually build for it, but I haven't actually run it on target. And the simulator, the FreeRTOS simulator, doesn't actually simulate the networking parts of the operating system, so it can't actually simulate the networking. So I might actually have screwed up FreeRTOS networking adaptions. So my plan is to make a curl build with FreeRTOS to run on this Cortex M4 target. It's a STM32L4 CPU. Yeah, that's the idea here. I'm not sure exactly how far I'm going to come today, but this is work I want to do, so I figured I'd just stream while I'm working on it. So that is the plan for this morning, I think, unless I get distracted and we can go into something else. That has happened more than once. I also have updated a whole bunch of PRs and things over. Well, I did it both in the weekend and just this morning, so I've updated and rebased a lot of things. The patch set for Tiny Curl was or is something like 22 patches or so that has been, I mean, outside of upstream curl. But that's not something, I don't want it to be like that. I wanted to have more or less the entire Tiny Curl merged upstream to curl. So I'm working on a PR to merge. I think I had 18 commits in there, but I've had problems to make that go through the CI properly. So I've had a separate branch now taking commits from that big PR and trying to get that to work, and I'm merging from there. So now my PR is down to, I think, 8 commits. So I want to make sure that that builds in the CI, and then I can merge them one by one or fix the remaining problems. Because getting it to work for FreeRTOS is one thing, and that's easy. Getting it to run in the CI and working on all those different setups and systems and tests, that's actually much more complicated. So I have a few different things going on at the same time. And I updated my quick branch, I updated my wolfSSH branch the other day, and yeah, I have a few things going at the same time. I also yesterday evening made a fix for how we parse the string when you provide a proxy to curl, because I realized that we had a stupid parser for that since the time we introduced a URL parser. We can just as well use the URL parser for parsing the proxy string too, because we treat that as a URL. So I added a parser for that yesterday, and I submitted a PR, and I added a fix this morning, and so on. So a few things that are going on. So let's switch over to this little display here. And there's the chat. Hello. So I'm going to log into my other computer, and this is the other computer, top there. It's Swedish. Well, it's rather more of a kind of a nickname in Swedish. But okay, so now I'm logged on to my other computer, which is a laptop. I just happened to install the, yeah, I can just as well explain that as well, because FreeRTOS and all of that is, and you know, getting one of these dev boards from, this is a dev board from ST Micro, they're called, right? STM32 series of CPUs. So when you get that dev board, it's a fairly cheap board. I think it's like 50 euros. So this thing is and it's powered by the USB cable that it's communicating over, and Linux has a driver already for communicating with it. So a lot of things are already in place. But if you're following the ST Micro, their installation guide, how do you develop for this board, then you're ending up in a wiki for their open STM blah blah blah, and you have to download or install Eclipse, and then you have to use some module for Eclipse to get everything running. And then sure, it's easy to write a main.c program. Just type build and type run, and it'll upload it to the target and run it. But Eclipse, who wants to do that, right? And that's a horrible, if you ask me. I don't want to do that. So I need to, and then I want, of course, that's the only documented way to do it on Linux. Install it via this magic mumbo jumbo thing. So now I have it installed via that, and I'm now trying to figure out how to use the toolchain installed by this magic Eclipse installation. So, and so I want to get the toolchain from that installation, build curl, FreeRTOS, wolfSSL, and the demo application. Merge it all into one single binary. Make sure that it has a network support, and get it all into one image. Upload it to target and run it there, and it should work. I'm sure I won't manage all that today, because who knows? Well, maybe if I just streamed the entire day. But okay, we'll see how far I go and how much a struggle it is. That's my general plan here for today, at least. So let's start out somewhere. What you're seeing here on the screen is just, okay, me log in, and I have a Emacs left here from since before. It doesn't actually show anything really relevant right now. I think I'll switch to the terminal only right here first, because now I'm logged into the other machine here, so it's not going to use my local Emacs. Okay, and I also downloaded the latest FreeRTOS. No, it's not on that computer, it's on the other computer. So it's download FreeRTOS 10.2 zip. Downloaded that. What's that? Saturday. So okay, we want to base it on the latest. So let's just copy it over to this machine. In TMP FreeRTOS 10.2. I think I already have a I don't. It is somewhere else. It might not be on. Okay, never mind. Yes, exactly. That's where, and that's 10.2 is the latest one there, right? It's from February. It's fun because the previous one I used was 10.1.1 and I downloaded that not too long ago. So, but I don't know how I managed to miss the 10.2, but it doesn't matter. I'll just unzip FreeRTOS. Blah 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 blah. So here it is. I mean, I'm an old embedded guy. I've done embedded systems development for, that's where I come from. So, and this FreeRTOS, it really brings back memories. I think it has a lot of those, that old style RTOS embedded things, since it's all rather secret. It's not very open. It's not very nice. So it's more of a, yeah, here's a lot of code. Do something fun with it. And by the way, you can buy everything from these vendors. So it's really, it's not, it is obvious that they haven't streamlined everything to make it easy peasy to do it on your own. They're more or less an entry point to get commercial stuff from them. But let's not care about that right now. So here in the FreeRTOS Plus source, we can see there's a wolfSSL, and that's the wolfSSL I want to build with, because I know that's adjusted for FreeRTOS. I think I'm going to start with that wolfSSL version and then maybe see how far we come with that and maybe change that later. And here's the plus FreeRTOS. Sorry, see FreeRTOS source FreeRTOS plus TCP. Here's the TCP stack they're shipping, which is the one I talked about. I think it's based on the LWIP stack once. I think it doesn't matter. It's a TCP/IP stack, and it's documented on their site somewhat. I think the biggest problem with it is that it has a really icky select function. So the select call is not very similar to the POSIX select, which is the biggest difference. And then of course it lacks a bunch of functions, but that was fine. I've just made sure that we use if def have function in the curl code, so it's okay. Okay, so, and that's the TCP parts, and FreeRTOS parts are here, I think. Q stream web portable. Yeah, so I just need to figure out exactly what to include of all this, how to run the compiler on all of that, and I have to have a linker script for everything for my target, and that might be a problem in itself. So I'm going to see if I can take my example code that I did with Eclipse and extract maybe the Linker script from there. I think I saw it. So maybe I need to... yeah. First I'm going to make an attempt to make a file with all the files I want to build in an image. And I'm gonna build it out of the tree. I'm gonna make like this. Tiny curl app. There it is. I'm gonna build it here. Empty. I don't have an alias for em. I usually have that. Okay, because I run Emacs everywhere. So, out. We're gonna do an out file. App. Curl app. Yeps. And we're going to use curl objects toolpath. Look at this. In the lovely place to install something, right? In .p2. So in the directory .p2, they installed things. So in the p2 directory, there's tools, compiler, arm, none, EABI, bin. Look at that. Oh, all right, that's not the cross-compiler ones. That's the native ones, I believe. I think there's compiler bin. These are the ones. Silly colors in this on the terminal, but let's ignore that. So this is the path to the compiler, the tools that we want. So I'm just going to copy that path. Go back to the home tool path or T and CC would then be this one. Right, so we want to build with that's the CC we want. curl D. I thought I had a separate. I thought I had a tiny curl branch on this here, but obviously I didn't. Let me just switch over to the other computer here. There's my main computer. So here I have a curl. I have different curls, as you can see. The curl min one, tiny curl. Here's the tiny curl branch, and this separate work area for it. So that's tiny curl. So, let me do like this. I'm going to make a hard and raw copy of that entire directory over to my other machine. Copy, copy, copy. So yes, it's an entire git checkout, so I'm copying the entire thing. There. Curl mini. So here's the curl mini. So, so this is the curl path that I want to use when I build my app. So curl deal, source curl mini. That's the root to the curl deal. I shouldn't use spaces everywhere because that's not very makefile style. So the objects, and we don't build anything in source, we build everything in, we build all the files there. So I just do like this. So start a shell here, curl mini lib ls, boom. We've actually over time made an effort so that you can always build all in curl. You can build all C files in the directory, and all C files check for themselves if they should be built or not for this particular configuration you're using, which is very convenient for this case. So it doesn't matter if I here include a bunch of files that aren't actually included in the build, because they won't do anything if they're not enabled. And we're listing objects files here, so I'm going to replace C with O all the way, and I thought I would be able to because I don't want to have a very, very long list here. So I'm going to replace .o, new line with .o. Yes, like that, and then I'm going to do my that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Even better. Now we're getting somewhere. So those are all the curl objects. They're in this directory. So those are all the curl objects I want to build. Maybe I should just see if I can do that. So the out file then depends on all the curl objects. And of course, yeah, that's going to echo link them, because I don't know how to link all of it right now, but I'm going to. So if I do this, tiny curl app, which screen is black? Or you're not seeing the stream? I hope it's not black. I hope you see a terminal. You need to open your eyes, Icing. That's why it's all black. You forgot to. More coffee. Coffee is black. Okay. And of course that doesn't work at all because exactly. For no sound, no video. I mean, that's the best kind of streams anyway, right? Right. Shouldn't trust Firefox Nightly, right? So I'm not sure I should admit this, but I actually switched away from Firefox Nightly after I quit Mozilla. So it actually turned out to be slightly better, more stable at least. Okay, I get things later, but I don't have to restart the browser as often as I did before. So I'm thinking I should I'm trying to I think I'll do this instead. I'm trying to, what's the most convenient way to do this instead of, I don't want to build in that directory. I want to build, so the output is in my directory, but maybe the source should be from that directory. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. And well, I have, I have the chat is supposed to be here to distract me so that I don't get too focused on what I'm actually doing, because I need distractions as well. It makes everything funner. So yeah, sure, go ahead, crash your nightly. Oh no, that's your regular now. So you get a black screen with nightly and a crash with your release version. That sounds awesome. So I want the O1 that should be dependent on the C ones. I can never really remember this syntax. Nah, they do it like that, right? So they .c.o. No rule to make target. Also just do this. We don't have, that makes no difference right now. No rule to make target. All right. Blah. That's better. Now at least. That should work. I mean, assuming that you're building, I think you're talking about like doing HTTP, right? And if you have the you do the name resolving with a threaded resolver with curl, then I think pulling it in within it should be really fine. You don't need a separate thread for it. I don't think that should be any problems. I mean the possible problem would be that some things, a few isolated actions in curl aren't really non-blocking, so there's that little risk. But I think that risk is non-existing when it comes to regular HTTP and HTTPS. I think it might exist for some edge cases from other protocols, but otherwise I think it's just fine. Okay, so that worked. I could do it like that, and of course it didn't actually, and then it complains on the next one because it doesn't do anything, and I thought I could do a generic right. That's what if I remove that? What happens now? Circular dependency dropped. In GCC, yeah, well, the example app. This is supposed to be an app running on with FreeRTOS on a tiny chip. The target here has, I think it has 1 megabyte flash and only a few hundred Ks of RAM. So I'm actually a little bit more concerned about the RAM requirements that curl might have. So I wanted to get it going first and then see what more I can do to make it actually useful on targets. So first I need to make sure that the application runs so that it can do something, and then I wanted to work on tweaking memory requirements later on. So, okay, if I do it like this, well, how can you not support compile time flags for reducing size? But reducing size when it comes to curl, it's not as much as, sure, you can compile with, like with GCC, you compile with OS instead of some other, and you can optimize it for size. And really, when it comes to, I'll show you, when it comes to oh no, sorry, that's not the one I wanted. These are really the keys. If you want to build on Linux or with the GCC, these are, OS is the key, and of course you need you want the F function sections to put the functions in individual sections, and as well as data for in the linker, and then you want the you want link time optimization, and you want this, that garbage collect sections. So since then it'll all the magic here means that basically it will ignore unused functions in the output, which is really the key when you want to build with GCC. So these are flags that I'm going to use here. And if you look at this is my then default setup for the tiny curl. I disable those things, and I just make sure that it doesn't even try to enable these things. And then I have a bunch of a little extra set that I'm the ones that aren't in Git yet. And actually, I'm now landing things that you can disable that don't have configure options yet. So you actually have to handcraft the curl_config.h file, which I do with this script. So if in my case I actually add these defines to my config file to make sure that these features, cookies, HTTP authentication, DOE, MIME API, date parsing, disable pipelining. Pipelining is removed now. I can remove that. NetRC parsing, the shuffle DNS feature, and the internal progress meter. I disable all that. All this in the name of getting things tiny. Yeah, sure. Gopher support. But I disable it for tiny curl. Gopher support is really, really tiny, so this is a very, very small gain, but still, every byte counts when you want to get through this. Yeah, and by the way, I didn't mention it before because it wasn't really on topic, but okay. So we're doing this survey of curl users every year, and this year's survey went up this morning. So if you ever use curl in any way, feel free to fill in that survey to help us understand where users are, where to go next, what's wrong, what's good, and stuff like that. So, okay, back to my little make file here. Echo is not good enough. We can see here, okay, so that's the echo, but it also does this, right? So how come it does? Weird. Right, because that doesn't work. Okay, I believe there's an automatic variable name for what's supposed to be the output here, the object file. So that's the C file gets in that, and the out file gets in another. Remember those. Okay, I'll cheat again by looking at the generated make file from libcurl. Maybe. useless. Automatic variables, yes. Can't ever remember these, so let's... The name of the first prerequisite, the target name. That was weird. Okay, oh sorry, I'm not showing you. I figured I'd just use this other style of doing it, but oh, this. Compiler object file. Damn it. Getting stuck on this lame shit. Okay. Yeah, make files, but it shouldn't be this hard, you know. I'm just being stupid. So I'll do it like this for now to just get away from. I'll fix it better. Curl build. And it needs the include path include path to curl d. Jesus, I type bad. Curl d slash include for that particular build. Sorry, wrong path. Curl lib. Lib. No, sorry, wrong path. Still curl lib. Oh, right there. And it does. Okay, it outputs there as well, which might not be what we want. Can actually output it here. Will that work? So it'll output the object file in our current directory, and it'll read the source from the proper place. Yeah, that's fine. Syssocket. Right, but this is fine for now because we're using this arm none. It has no. It's made for. We need to point it to all the header files and everything, but this is fine. So now take the next step then. So this is the foundation. I'll add more stuff for the rest of the source files, but then we have FreeRTOS. It's in another directory, like this directory, FreeRTOS, and I don't remember. FreeRTOS. Now let's see. I believe I haven't really used Rust. I have basically browsed it a little bit, but no, I haven't used it for real. So here's the source, the FreeRTOS source. And that can get interesting, since so we're using GCC, but I'm still not sure exactly which. This isn't listing one of the specific CPUs or microcontrollers that I'm using, since I'm using an STM32. Okay. So FreeRTOS. Looking at, here are demo builds of FreeRTOS. I'm just going to see if I can find one of those. That's what HTML targets, at least STM. STMF. I have an STML, I think. STML, so okay. What if I check out this one? Oops. Yeah, so here's why doing FreeRTOS is fun. It's such a mess. But that's a FreeRTOS config, so that is what we need for the particular target we're building. We need a FreeRTOS config. And since we're using an STM32L, this might be a good thing to base it on. Clean target, we need that. And then we'll remove all the curl obvious as well as the out image. Some of them are pointless to have since we're not gonna do those. I did a build with, I'm just going to, is it here? I think the other one I did here's my previous work with FreeRTOS, and then I created a demo here. This is the build I did with a simulator or emulator, or it's a simulator. And then I just put, right, I made it like this, so I had this source here, and here's the curl source that I used for that. Yes, that's it. Curl mini, curl mini, and that's the same thing I used there. So yeah. Okay, I need to put up the include path to the TCP headers or IP. They're here. FreeRTOS root. FreeRTOS source. FreeRTOS TCP Inc. Long and annoying names, but okay, let's leave them like that for now. FreeRTOS TCP. FreeRTOS TCP Inc. Yeah, there's no syssocket in there, but why are we using syssocket? Syssocket seems... I think it is because I've not... I don't build with the correct here, so curl def. I think let's switch to the other build, the one I built here before on FreeRTOS, called FreeRTOS plus curl. And yeah, I did it, if I may say, the worst possible way, because I built it on Windows with Visual Studio, and they have this weird file I had to edit to get the files in and everything, so yucky, but so it's not as friendly to get the details out again. But okay, I don't need to do that. I can just do curl mini lib config FreeRTOS. That's the define we need to make it use the config file. We just have to say that we're building for FreeRTOS. Well, we don't, that's not the only thing, but we need to do that. One by one. Okay, fatal error still, but something is wrong here, right? We didn't define. I just made this, I didn't use it. It should be in here. Curl def. Just use it like that. Step by step, and that's Okay, yeah. So now we only point to the TCP headers. They don't contain the FreeRTOS stuff. The FreeRTOS are in the FreeRTOS directory. There it is. So we need that as well. In the little FreeRTOS Inc. FreeRTOS root, like that. So we need it added down here to the include path, FreeRTOS Inc. And we don't have the FreeRTOS config because that is the specific config file for the particular port we're doing. Right, and that is, then we need to get some inspiration from one of these. So if we're looking at, for example, this port, so I'm going to start off just copying this late until bam to this directory, because what's the worst that can happen? So of course, so I put it here. I need to edit that or make sure that it actually works later, but I'll start out by making sure that we include this directory as well. And now we have the port macro, which is also one of those things that is specific for the particular target and port of where are those? Alright, this is FreeRTOS specific things. Let's do like this. Find port macro. Yeah, they're in the, depending on target architecture really. So which one fits us the best? We have a Cortex M4. In the STM32, but didn't seem loud. So it makes me curious. This is an STM32. Which port macro is this using? How do we know? Do we know? So among all the STM32s, which are a few, No, they're not there. Since they're not based on the particular board, they're more based on CPU architecture. GCC. I was thinking maybe is this Cortex M4? Could be. So I'm gonna continue to go with that and see where it takes me. A lot of moving parts here now that are possibly reasons for failure, but still, that's the FreeRTOS root. CPU Inc. I call it CPU. FreeRTOS root. CPU Inc. Wrong. Because I can't spell. Still wrong. I need the correct option as well. Boom. Oh, FreeRTOS IP config. How did I do that in the good old? Yeah, I did like that, right? FreeRTOS IP config. Good stuff. That's just default things for the IP stack. I can copy that over to my tiny curl app directory. Boom. So I have it here now. Yes. 2 or more data types in declaration specifiers. Okay, but now we're getting somewhere. Now we're into compile error due to something that I will figure out next. Something wrong with the setup for building FreeRTOS. 2 or more. So I'm going to build it from within Emacs. There we go. But okay, it only yeah, but I don't think it matters that it was from an IAR build right now. Right. Yeah. So no, I don't think. Well, it might be a bad idea. Basically, I am trying to. I want to get everything to build first, and then I will work on getting the details right, like the right port conf and the right config files, and I need to have the. I don't even have a link script properly yet, so I'm trying to get sort of the foundations in the makefile first, so that it can actually build everything. So and generate something, and if it can do that, then I will go back and double check all the details. There are a lot of moving parts still. I also don't even know how I'm supposed to get the details right to get the networking going on this target. So I still have a lot of unknowns here. But okay, back to my silly makefile. So I build here, and it does compile, but oh, wrong. And straight into the next issue. I don't actually think I need base 64, but so an easy fix right now is to just skip the base 64. Not that I think it actually fixes the problem, because I think the problem is real, but just in case. On cache, yeah, we got it again instead here. Host and declared host and being where is host and regularly? It's not, there's not a is it? There it is. Yes, it is tiny curl. Well, yeah, it's supposed to be. I'm trying to build an image for target with tiny curl, so it's supposed to generate something to run on my target. Not that I'm there yet, but that's the plan. I'm not being really productive right now, but we're getting there. Slowly, but maybe not as surely. But yeah. It's I'm building up for a coffee refill soon. But okay. So the host end, isn't that a struct from a regular? That's which function actually uses host end? Let me. Yes, that's get host by name. Look at that. Yes, it is. So okay, yeah, that's get host by name, and we need get host by name. We use the FreeRTOS TCP stack, which has its own name resolving functions, of course. But I'm surprised. Okay. Here are the headers for the stack. I think it's the DNS then, maybe. Get host by name. Yes. Full, up-to-date and maintained reference documentation for all these functions is available on the following URL. TBD, add URL. Really, the best way to understand how these work is by reading the source code for these functions, because they're not very good documented. But I'm surprised because I built it with the code before without compiler errors, so I'm a bit puzzled now why it worked before. So where am I? Yes, we have get host by name, it says. And in curl setup, we have some other fun things for FreeRTOS. FreeRTOS. Ooh, I think we even had some in the include. Maybe in the system. Yeah, there they are. Should probably not be in the header file. But we don't actually have any particular code to handle get host by name, which seems like an oversight. It's okay. DNS get host FreeRTOS get host by name as a normal blocking call. It returns. So yeah, again, here's another one, but okay, I obviously didn't do this correctly before. Get host by name FreeRTOS get host by name IPA reference, returning the host's IP address. Lovely. This is so lame. Yeah, it returns one IP address in a uint32. Okay. Ifconfig used. Oh, I wonder if I had that disabled. So check. ipconfig use DNS. Yeah, so that is enabled. Oh, sorry, you're not seeing this. I loaded the FreeRTOS ipconfig.h in my build directory, and it shows DNS. The DNS functions are enabled in here. Okie dokie. I need something fun here to make this work. I was happy up until this point. No, get host get host by name. Yeah, it's in here, and you would imagine get host by name is really, we have support for it, because back in the day, back in the dark ages, that's how systems did it. And now we're back in this, but this is even worse than the dark ages, because this only returns a single IP address. Which of course is totally super lame, but now that's how it works, so I can't complain more than saying so. Okay, so get host by name. Just a little note here, this says this original code comes from blah blah blah. I think this is the code I once wrote, that it was stolen from this code. And I was contacted by lawyers after a while that why does it say that you have stolen code? But Björn Reza is a friend of mine, so it's actually more like a tongue-in-cheek comment. So I actually changed the comment after a while. So back to the header file here. I'm going to continue this. This shouldn't be in this header file. I think it's wrong. Get host by name, FreeRTOS get host by name, by name, and a regular get host by name. If we just look at the get host by name, it's very easy. It just takes a name, but it returns a struct. That's the good old version of the function. Comes from some BSD thing. So this one also takes a host name, of course a different pointer, because why stick to POSIX when you can change it? And it returns a different value. So we are here. Curl get host by name. And really, I'm doing this curl thing here just to make sure, because if I just define the regular, I mean, like this, it turns out that it's really inconvenient in many systems, because a lot of systems, they define some of these symbols themselves, so it becomes annoying. Or when I include and happen to include one of those, so right now I've done it like this: host IP4 host by name curl get host by name. for now. Right, and then we get that problem again, then it's host end. Because host end to address info. We're going to get some fun. So the question then becomes where to put the translation from FreeRTOS to curl style. I could make our own private host end struct if it's not. The host end struct, so let's take a look at that, how it looks in a. But it's actually not visible here. Here it is. This is for QNX, but I don't think it matters. I think it looks like this basically. For all of them, I think this is part of the POSIX API. So more or less all systems in Windows. Yep, same thing. Oh, because if I don't have that struct in curl, of course, we support all different kinds of name resolving APIs, even those old style things like this, and then we convert it to the common structs that we use internally, so that no matter which name resolver API you use, it is converted to the generic internal one. And the generic internal one is using the curl adder info struct, which it converts from host end, but we don't have a host end. But maybe I can just make a conversion from, without going FreeRTOS host end to curl adder info, I can go from FreeRTOS to curl adder info. I think that's, I should just as well do that. So okay, take a little look at the code. This one, host end to adder info. We don't need that. It is used like this. Ooh, this is what we need, right? It takes an internet address in binary form as input parameter, along with its address family and string version of, and it returns. So we already have. So in this case, I think I might then instead else if free define FreeRTOS. So if we have defined FreeRTOS, I think FreeRTOS isn't the best defined to check for this, because you can build it with different TCP stacks, but still. Then we don't need to use the funny define. So let's remove the funny define because it didn't work out that easily anyway. Gone again. So this function has host ent pointers. We don't want that, so I think we need to do it even oops, where did I go? That's the end of the function. Return not FreeRTOS. So it returns AI. That's what I want. AI is what we want, and we could put that one. That's the only one that's generic. uint 32 IP. I think that's this. It's actually even a const uint8 pointer. And we can ignore the port number because we don't use that. Okay, but we still, even when we built this, it still warns them because the struct host ent declared inside parameter list, and we don't. Just run make tags in there, and then follow a tag there. We don't need this. And how do we disable this? Maybe not that important. We'll get it garbage collected if we don't use it. So we're not calling it. We should just make sure that and here's the next one, struct sock adder. I believe we might have a custom version of that. We do. I'm just gonna look and see if, why didn't I get a problem with this before? Do we use it actually? I think we do. It's curious. Yeah, that might be a good idea. It's a bit of a, it might be tricky to follow what I'm doing, but I could add something somewhere. I'm not sure where. Right now I have a little bit of a weird thing since I'm doing this in a terminal only. Since this is because I logged into another machine, so that I'm using Emacs in a terminal. Otherwise, I usually show both at the same time. And this isn't actually a particular issue right now. This is tiny curl app built for my target. So tiny curl being just a custom build of curl with built with to make it as small as possible and still do something for HTTPS GET. And I'm building it for FreeRTOS, and I'm trying to get the build running for my yeah, I should. The only thing is that I get so involved, so sometimes I sort of forget about doing things on the stream, and I should possibly add some sort of layover somewhere, or so let me see. I should have some sort of text. What is happening now? Okay, hang on. I'll add a text. Working on. What do you call it? Working on an app for tiny curl for my STM32 target. Of course, understanding what I'm saying is also maybe not really clear, but okay. So I'm adding it somewhere. Working on the it's up there now. It's very tiny and it's white. Could make it. What if I shrink? I don't need a logo there. I can remove the logo and I can put it. Boom. Remove the logo. Yes. And working on. Make that working on in. Working on in black. Right? Black is good. I think. Okay. Now it says something. Oops. Very fancy. Very fancy. But that also makes me actually have to update that when I do something, which of course is a good idea for the audience. But still, I'll mess it up, I'm sure. So, okay, back to my little defines here. wow, this hasn't been changed since 2009. Yeah, sock adder in. Do we have support for that? What? Oh, there's oops, wrong directory. But there's no in. There's a sock adder. The FreeRTOS sock adder. That's there. There it is. Here it's defined. But there's no sock adder in version. And sock adder in and that's a very silly little thing, right? I think we can make our own. Zero this if you want to. But then I don't know where this comes from. But okay. So I'm going to make my own little clone here. And wait a minute, I'll fix, and I'm going to add what I'm doing here as well. On this little white background, and I'm working on the terminal only. Bam, move it down. Here's what I'm working on. Woo. Get the logos much smaller. We don't need them. Okay. It's a question then what I need. I probably need to make it, for example, like this. Well, this is how it's usually done. And of course, I'm giving myself work here now by just adding this without making it properly. Well, this is if that's problem, but the rest of it. So I'm focusing on getting something here that builds for FreeRTOS, and then I'm going to have to take it another second round and make sure that it's done in a way that can actually land in the code eventually upstream properly. Error field SYN adder is incomplete. Because I'm a fool, that's what I wanted to do. There's another struct, sock add struct. Oh, we don't have that. Config FreeRTOS storage. Why did I have that defined? Yeah, because that's what you get for running the simulator, because that was probably found and used the Windows version, then not one in the actual FreeRTOS stack. I'll just double check. I head over to the here and just grep for storage. That feels like such a niche thing, so I'm sure that it doesn't have it, and no, it didn't. So I'll remove sock adder storage support because FreeRTOS doesn't have it. So concache now builds. Fine, that's a good start so far. So back to the make file. I can adding them one by one like this. So, but it's pretty good. And anyway, see. You can fight them one by one. The build errors. So yeah, vtls.h, no such file or directory, so we need to set up the include path to the lib directory as well for the files that aren't rebuild that aren't in the lib directory. Because and now I realize that we haven't added all the files actually. I forgot. And that we have files in subdirectories as well. And we don't have to add all of them because I'm only focusing on the wolfSSL. No, it's CSSL. So let's do it like this. VTLS, VTLS.o, and VTLS, VTLS, CISSL.o. I think it's enough with those two. And curl inc for our. We also need include path to curl lib as a secondary. Let's do like that so we catch. Okay. Connect. Set sock opt. So we have the FreeRTOS set sock opt. But of course then FreeRTOS, of course, probably. And again, I built it for the simulator, and again the simulator fooled me because it was for Windows. I got the Windows defines there, I'm sure. But let me take a little break and take a coffee refill, and I'll continue squashing away FreeRTOS things in a minute. So give me a minute and I'll show you my fancy coffee break screen. So coffee refill now. Yeah, since I have that fancy coffee break screen, I need to have a coffee break every once in a while to show off the fancy coffee break screen. So, SOL socket doesn't exist. Nice. Or not so nice. Okay, so, and in this case, of course, the entire function here is not going to do anything because neither of the other defines are going to exist either. So, what do I do? I'm going to zip my coffee first. Okay, so no TCP keep alive on FreeRTOS. Fine. Do nothing. Jesus. I thought these were things I already had fixed, but apparently my building for the simulator was very naive, and I'm silly. But okay, here we go. why doesn't AF ENET exist? INET, however you say it. AF INET. Did you mean SSH INET? No, I didn't mean that. There it is. Woohoo! So maybe we can continue our journey and just define our own as this one. I like how they actually define the INET 6 here too, sort of pretending that it actually works, but no, it doesn't. Doesn't have any IPv6 address support really. Dereferencing pointer to incomplete type, but this was the one we made. I thought sock adder in, but I called it curl sock adder in. Why did I do that? Let's not do that. Now I go back to have Did you mean? Oh, well, now we're okay. Yeah, so I needed some other members in that struct because we're actually using them. So sock adder in actually has to have some other. It actually usually has this short. It's in family. And for some reason they tend to align them like this. So we use family and we use port one as well. And that's an unsigned short in SYN port. And then we get implicit declaration of H2NS. It doesn't have H2NS. H2. Yep. H2N. It does, but of course they're called FreeRTOS H2NS. H2NS host to network short. FreeRTOS host to network short. FreeRTOS host to network short. And I'm sure I'm gonna need some of the other ones, like in the other direction. What? Implicit declaration of function. Did you mean? No, I didn't mean that. I actually meant FreeRTOS H2NS. So sort of compare this to this. Sorry, that's that one. Host to network short. Host to network short. that didn't avoid it, so it wasn't just like that. So then it's the question, why does it say this? Do I need to include the header file first properly? Pack struct start. Lovely. Yeah, right. Now I remember these are also some specific header files FreeRTOS uses that are architectural sort of specific. Somewhere around, somewhere, I don't really remember where they are. Let me see, find, what's the name of them again? Pack struct start. So if I search for them in the FreeRTOS, there they are. Portable compiler. So if I look in the GCC thing, that's the one we need. So I need to set up the, nothing to do here. Lovely. So I need to set up the compiler path to this path as well. Okay, this is becoming more and more here's the FreeRTOS root GCC Inc. That's a sort of the TCP specific for compiler, and up there we have the regular TCP GCC Inc. TCP GCC Inc. Let's see if that works. Warning. Oh yes, and now we have the other direction. So we did H2NS, and we need the network to host short as well. Network to host short. Boom. And now we have more missing. The AF unspec. I just assume that this will be provided in a similar fashion. But no, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. AF no unspec in the header file. Those are the AF ones. So what do we need? What do we use with AF unspec? What is the value of an AF unspec in a real world? It's 0. So, okay. Let's just define it ourselves. How bad can that be? Zero. Lovely. And the reference is pointed to incomplete type. SA family. I believe this is because... No, wait a minute. SA family. Where's SA family? I thought we have SIN family, but not SA family. Back to where are we? Where are SA family? That's instruct sock adder, which means, and that's the one FreeRTOS has its own. So look at this. It's SIN family. Look at that header. No, sorry. Look at that struct. And look at my made up sock adder in. It is the same one. Pretty much. The FreeRTOS struct sock adder replacement calls its member calls its fields names its fields with SIN prefixes, not SA. I'm not sure this is going to work, but I'm just specifying this now anyway. Dereferencing pointer to incomplete type, struct sock adder. Oh, right, because we're actually calling it curl sock adder. So we need to update it in the header file too. Or just there. Error, struct curl sock adder has no member named SIN family. Did you mean family? What do you mean? No, I didn't. silly thing. I don't think I did. It says SA family. Curl sock adder. But I think it's the wrong. It's supposed to be curl struct. Yeah, that got me further, I think. Sock diagram. Yeah, I saw that somewhere. Sock diagram. There it is. Passing argument one object from incompatible type. Sock stream. Oh, I needed the IP proto UDP as well. Define IP proto. TCP, I can just as well do them both. I think both are needed. Okay, great. I'll just clean it again and see that those actually still build. Yeah, those 3 source files now build fine. Hopefully things will get better over time. I mean, more and more files. Here's a test. This shouldn't compile at all. So, because this is for HTTP compression. No rule to make target blah blah needed for. What did I screw up then? Curl build is the one. Curl lib it is. There. So it'll be an empty file, so it doesn't do anything. So yeah, it'll just create a little object file that won't be used for anything. But I still want to have all those source files built, because it makes it. Then in the end, we can just fiddle with the config FreeRTOS and the make file and add features. I'm sure that someone will. Down the line, I think someone wants to make a small curl, like tiny curl, but enable specific features. And if I then already have everything lined up for that, it'll be easier going. So, I have tiny curl, I only have HTTPS GET, but I also want to add support for XYZ, and then we just add that and rebuild it. if everything is smooth and correct, it should be easy to just enable that in your particular builds. So for example, I also add cookies here. For the same reason, cookies are disabled in a default tiny curl build, because cookies, I mean, a lot of use cases actually don't need cookies, so if you want to have a really small curl, you can switch it off and get a smaller curl for your system. And now I'm going to, well, TCP and UDP are very different, so you can't really just say which is best to use. It really matters what you want to do. So they're not really just easily exchangeable. So the question isn't that easy to answer. Usually, well, no, I don't think you can even say usually. TCP is reliable and in order and everything. It takes care of with retransmissions and making sure that data arrives in the other end, or not at all. While UDP is basically send as much as you want, something gets to the other end, you have no idea how much and in which order, but the data that gets there gets checksum, so you know that it's actually correct, but you don't know how much data and so on. And that is fine if you want to send video or something. It's fine if you miss frames every now and then UDP is fine for you. For traffic that you actually want every byte in the right order, you better use TCP. I'm replacing .o with .o new line. Boom. Oh, I got it with space now. I'm gonna make a macro to fix up all of these files with a few key presses. That's why I'm doing it like this. So I'm gonna use my Emacs magic. Are you ready? So here we have line 60 to line 166. We have source files on each one of them, 116 lines or so. So I'm going to record a macro on this line, cut it, paste it, add curl lib in front of it, slash paste it, change that to a C. New line tab, curl build, and there, end of macro. And I'm just going to try to see that it runs. Boom, 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 boom. Seems to work fine. So execute that macro 50 times. Yeah. 50 more times. And once more. Boop. And deal with build failures. Cool. And dereferencing pointer to incomplete type struct host ent. Yeah, here's the host ent. Yeah. We don't have host ent. We shouldn't do this function. If def have host struct host ent, or just not take it the easy route right now. If not, define FreeRTOS. So we just disable this for FreeRTOS specifically, because I've not used another OS before without it. So I don't think it's terribly common. name buff. What do we use this for? IP to address. How annoying. I wanted to use this function, but it uses the name buff, which itself uses a host ent. Maybe I can fix this. Pain. So what does it do? IP to address. It'll get the in address. Let me see. Well, the address family in AF. Okay, that's where to store it, and it copies from in address to where to store it. So it copies the address. Well, yes, I make the source larger to make the results smaller. Isn't that always what? I mean, curl is probably one of the most portable regular programs out there, since you can build it for a vast number of different operating systems and basically on anything modern architecture-wise. So yeah, it's a lot of code, and of course a lot of that code is to make sure that you can actually build it trimmed for your particular device or target operating system. So why does it need the... Because because it makes up a fake host ent entry and then calls the host ent to address info. HE to AI. Why I chose C instead of C++? There are actually a whole busload of answers to that, but I can mention a few. That I started curl in 1998, and you know, C++ was the lousiest of programs for doing libraries for a very long time, since it didn't do, I mean, it was never a good, it still isn't a good idea to make an API that is C++. You want to make the API in C anyway, so that was early on a decision to do it. And C++ was, back in the day, really bad at portability between systems, and C++ is still problematic, I would say, portability-wise, and we're still on C89, C90 with curl, right? So we stick to the really old legacy C. And I'm not really fond of C++, and I don't think C++ would help curl one bit. I think it would just make it worse. So if there would be another language to do curl in, it wouldn't be C++, it would be something else. But I don't think curl is very suitable to do C++. I don't think it would gain any particular. Sometimes we're talking about switching to C99 as a basis for the C level, and that could do some code a little bit nicer. Actually doing things portable, so you get a layer or things, it's really hard to maintain, and I don't want a portability layer per se in curl and do everything via that. But I try to do things so that we don't mix. Actually, like this is the worst kind of if-defs. I don't like this sort of when we do things in the middle of functions. I'd rather have us if-def functions and sort of create empty macros and stuff so that we don't have a lot of if-defs within functions. So you can read your function without a lot of if-defs. That's my primary goal when doing portable things. But otherwise, it becomes a lot of if-defs. I don't think a lot of if-defs in itself is a problem. I think if-defs is complicated when you have a lot of them within the same functions, for example. So you have to keep all of that in your head when reading the function. But if you can get them out of the functions, then it becomes much simpler, and you can pretend that all the functions actually are there, but sometimes they're not, and you don't have to care about it in that particular function that you read, and you don't. So, and you can implement the functions differently on different platforms, for example. So I think it is usually it is usually not that bad. I don't think we actually end up being successful in all everywhere in all cases, but I think that's in general I don't have a problem with the if-def maze. I think in this case, like working with FreeRTOS is actually much worse than regular, because it's a much worse TCP stack in operating systems. You have to do much more invasive changes, things that I'm not really accustomed to do. I'm not used to do that when porting curl to different operating systems, because usually they are more capable than this. But of course, that's doing things that are further away from the more common path. That's what puts your things to a test, right? But okay, I need to fix IP to address. Actually, so I was in this function before, and I did this FreeRTOS get host by name, and this isn't a complete fix, because it calls this host name, it gets the IP back, it doesn't do anything, and it returns a null, so it'll always fail. But yeah, this doesn't need that IP. What's the name of it? IP to adder. I think I'll if-def that out as well, all the way down here. FreeRTOS. Actually, not FreeRTOS. Ooh, look at that! Several files compiled. Conflicting types. Okie dokie. Oh yeah, I know why. I forgot something. We have this little ugly thing I think it's, yes, this building libcurl. I think I need that set when I build libcurl. Here, -d building libcurl, and again, boom, a few more. Struct sock adder declared inside curl struct, I think was the name. Curl struct. Okay. Look at that. Fatal error can create. Okay, yeah, well that makes sense. Since I'm just appending the file name to the local directory, it wants to write it to. Ah, great. So the SSL library nowadays called wolfSSL was once upon a time was called SIA SSL. Yet another SSL library, and C for the C version. because ta-da, they wrote it in C++ originally and then converted everything to C when they realized that doing a library in C++ not a good idea. And I should also add to why you don't do things in C++ on a low level is that if you want it portable, if you want it run everywhere, you avoid C++ because the C compilers are everything. You can run it on every real-time operating system and you know, old legacy crap from the 80s, 90s, everything. But going with C++, you raise that bar considerably, and you're not at all as portable anymore. And wolfSSL, the company, they realized that, so they converted their library early on, I mean a long time ago, to plain C, and nowadays they are in plain C. They offer C++ glue on top if you want it, but the library is C. So I need to okay, it meant that we got all the way down to the CSSL file, which is the last one. I just can't really believe that it actually worked already this far. So I need to just clean the build. Look at that. Make. There was some warning up there. But otherwise, it looks kind of fun. There's the warning. Warning! Passing argument 1. Yes. Connect.c. But okay. I'll ignore that for a second. I'm going to build with the wolfSSL library that is in the FreeRTOS tree. I think that is tweaked for FreeRTOS. There's a special demo build with FreeRTOS with wolfSSL, which I mean it's really a basic thing. But I mean, I'm not sure it's actually good enough for us, but it was good enough for FreeRTOS in that demo, and that's a good start. So I'm gonna do wolf objects and check it out. It's in demo. It's in here. There, wolfSSL Windows Simulator. That was the work I based my work on, which was a bit silly, turns out. But okay, that's it. That's what I do, silly things. So the source is in here, I think. wolfSSL. Here it is. Is it the lib? No, it's the source. Is that all we need? Might be. Internal 450k source file. Big. 446. So let's build that and see what happens. Cool. Fun. We don't really want full path. We want to do it like this. Those are the ones we want. Boom. Okay, wolf obs. So if we let it should also depend on the wolf obs. And the wolf obs. So I'm setting up two different new variables for the wolf stuff, since that's bound to be a little bit different. Could probably wolf lib is in FreeRTOS root, and let me switch back, and it was in there it is, root plus this. Boop. But it also has I'm sure headers in. Where are the headers? There's the headers, I think. I wonder what version this is. There are the headers. 3.6. So, not the latest, but I think that's good. Good enough. Wolf root. Wolf lib. Wolf inc. I actually think that it needs to be the root because it adds the CSSL. At least if we add it to the here to curls include path, it wants to include wolf inc here. Let's go. CSSL, yeah, there. It includes sysio, which of course it can't do, blah blah blah. If not defined, if not pico TCP. I wonder if it defines one of those in the demo. And again, here it builds everything with a silly Visual Studio, which makes it really hard to figure out what defines or set, for example, in the build, because it's in a annoying XML blob. And again, I compiled this in the simulator, so that it worked for me before. So just need to figure out why it didn't really work or doesn't work. So one of those defines need to be defined. Pico TCP, is that it? gives the impression that PicoTCP is a TCP stack, and I'm not sure this is the PicoTCP stack, so I'm not sure just switching that on is a good idea. Oh, sorry, not lscd. So here's the directory with the crap. Let's readme. No, it's just a. I actually don't know really what library to use. If you want to write it from scratch, I mean, I'm a client-side guy. I write HTTP client-side code. I don't know what you would do. If you write it from scratch, it feels like a lot of work. But okay, if you want it for some sort of embedded, limited use case, I can imagine you're doing it from the beginning, but I don't know what to base it on. I remember I read people ask about this before, and it seems that I haven't ever really realized if there are any obvious choices to use for that. But maybe there is. I'm gonna add the chat to my terminal only screen here. So this is my. I'm gonna make myself smaller, and I'm gonna paste the chat into this, so you can actually see the chat, or maybe I should do something like this. Oh well, something like that. A lot of white here now. I'll arrange it later. So I need something to tell wolfSSL that it's building the FreeRTOS version. Right, here's, oh, that's many more source files than I added. Yeah, I know my brother, he works for an embedded company. They did implement an HTTP server a while ago, and I remember he mentioned he found some library to do all the HTTP parsing in a neat way, and everything, but I don't remember the details, so sorry. These are basically the only defines they set in here, and they're all hinting that it's built for WinSock. That's it. Again, this is another simulator, I'll say, problem. But I know they have this building for for FreeRTOS in others places. I don't think it should be a problem. So okay, I'm just going to pretend everything works if I define Pico TCP. Yeah, that seems great, right? Oh yes, a small TCP. Let's imagine that it means that. So we do the, yes, we need it for when building curl, right? So that it gets the right header file. Pico defines. So it wasn't that easy. It'll then, okay, then we need the Pico defines, and we don't have any Pico. No! Ha! Okay. This looks like I am, I need to talk to my fellow wolfSSL friends and see how I am supposed to use this. If the FreeRTOS. Oh, or maybe I should just, I just need that defined. FreeRTOS. That was pretty good. Then that was good, because now my source file went through, and then we got another failure, but that was the first. So build clean. I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, because now, well, that's a compiler wanting to fix, but at least the entire curl now built for FreeRTOS. It built. It didn't actually work, but because I haven't tried it. But building it is at least the step I wanted to get to. And now I just need to get the wolfSSL to build, and of course then that's sort of 1/3 done in the build. You shouldn't build the HTTP client from scratch. You should run curl. Woo! Yeah, well, it builds, but just only 1/3 of it. I think I need to build a little bit more for everyone to be happy with this, or for me to be happy with it at least. So I'm gonna go back to the demo directory here, plus wolf, and there's this source here. Here it is. All these files. Right, I know. I realize I didn't actually. I just copied the one from the source directory, while the large majority of the files are in the wolf crypt subdirectory there. So, and here are the ones, the actual FreeRTOS files that I also need. Well, luckily, I don't have anyone who's actually waiting for me to ship this. Sort of, they're not banging on the door. My hope is that someone will actually want this at some point and will bang on the door, but there's nobody right now, so I can just spend a few more days to get it going, and hopefully soon prove it working. Okay, but back to my little. If I can just get the first wolfSSL file to build, then I'm in a pretty good situation. no rule to make wolflib. No, I'm gonna run it on target. That's my goal here. So I'm not. I'm actually gonna run it on my actual target, and until I've done that, I haven't succeeded. So my app is probably going to get a web page from my Linux server on the target, and I guess the target is just going to write everything to standard out. I think, if I can figure out how to read standard out, or I'm going to flash a LED in Morse code to, I don't know. I don't know even how to access the LED on it. There are 2 LEDs on it, so at least. So, but I'm not sure. It's admittedly a rather vague requirement specification on this task, but yeah, I'll get there. Running an emulator is really painful too, right? Since then I would have to emulate the hardware here, which is in this STM32 thing, microcontroller with everything. So yeah, that would be terribly annoying. Let's not go there. wolflib.source, was that the right directory? Is that so? Is that there? wolflib, was that blah 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 source CRL. Is it not there? Oh. Tiny curl app. So I'm gonna list ls source wolf source crl.c. There it is. Didn't I do it like that? FreeRTOS, then plus source wolf source blob. Plus source wolfSSL wolflib is in the source directory. Echo no rule to make target. That usually means that I didn't specify the correct path. And my coffee has gone cold. What's wrong? Why? Well, tea goes cold as well. If you don't drink it fast enough, it'll go cold, no matter what kind of beverage you have. Arguably, tea might taste better when cold than coffee does. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? Well, the wolf build isn't defined at all, so that's wrong. So if I just make, that's the curl build, and if I just start out with a wolf build as a clone of that, so CC should be there, but I don't need the curl things. wolflib. Come on. Ah. There's C files, not O files. Boom, 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 boom. And of course these are not enough because these are only the SSL parts or TLS parts, not the crypt parts. So there. No rule to make. Okay, cool. That's the first source file in the wolfSSL directory as well. So cool. Remove that little thing. Boom, 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 boom. So will my... No, my macro won't work because it was made... Well, I can do my macro anyway, right? And then I can replace curl with wolf. Yeps. And let's see if it works. Something failed. Yes. Because it runs into that problem because there's something I don't define anymore that I did. Yeah, it was a curl def, which... Okay. Let's add the curl def here. I don't need the actual building lib curl there, but okay. Never mind, we can have that. And it wants the FreeRTOS. So it also wants the I dot here so that it can find that. Let's see if that's a fatal error. Okay, well, it was fatal because it looks like it's actually not enough. It doesn't have the suitable if-defs here for us, for me. Icing tea. If not defined Windows API, if the wolfSSL LWIP. I think that is the one we want. Okay, then maybe this is something I need to take to my friends. So, okay. And going back, maybe I will do this. I will get this list of source files. These are the crypt. So maybe wolf obs are just a can do this. Yep. There, cut off all the crap. Another macro. Search for that. Stop. Kill. Right. clean up all these lines, 20 of them, 10 of them, there. So these are source files for the crypto parts of wolfSSL. Yes. I'm just adding backslashes here so that I can do escape Q to have them wolf crypt. Oh, forgot one. There. Better. Wolf crypt source files, and they shouldn't be .c. They should be. I can call it crypt obs just to keep it short. .c we replace with .o because we want to have them .o files. And we then also depend so that the actual output also would have the crypt object, and now we can build them, right? No, right. It'll still stop on that. Yeah, I can build them in another order. No, shouldn't modify that file. Wasn't my intention. And now I remember some issue here, and I'm going to address it now because in the wolf crypt directory they have some names of file names overlap with curl file names, like MD4, MD5. I think it had some hash as well. Hash. Yeah, usually when I do just macros, I don't go with regex. Not with when I do them within Emacs like this. So usually then I just go with the repetitive. When I find a pattern, I can just rerun the pattern. So I will build the crypto stuff in a subdirectory then, so that they don't overwrite the same file names, since they're duplicates. So I should probably put the objects file in a subdirectory too at some point, but let's not do that right now. Remove all objects and make clean. There. Base 64 I removed. That was stupid, but bam. So let's see how fast it goes when I do it totally recursive. Oh, I did it silently, yes. I'm sort of use the S option without thinking about it. Yeah, okay. I have that warning still to fix, so I'll just fix some crypto builds and see how far I can get with the crypto. lot of files in the crypto directory. So there, bunch of files. So what did I do? I had a macro there, but I don't have the macro around anymore, so let's do it again. No, I'm going to put it's actually not a Corsair K70. It's actually, I mentioned it on the stream info page. It's actually, well, I guess it has the same switches, I guess. That's the blog post I did once about it's a Funk 460. So it has cherry MX red switches. And I realized you can hear them pretty good in the stream here, but they're actually not that particularly loud. I don't think I actually disturb anyone at home, usually, with them. Where am I? I'm clicking things here. Not good. I get distracted immediately. So what do I do? CryptObs. Yeah, the browns are a little bit quieter actually, and I like the browns one. I tried it on keyboard, so in my next one I might go with brown. I think maybe. My keyboard is, as you can see on that blog post, is turning 5 years old now, so I'm a little bit curious how long it'll actually last. I've noticed some little minor problems at times with my control key. I guess control is the key that I possibly pressed the most, my left control key. Since I'm an Emacs user, Control A, Control E, everything I save. So control is basically held down almost all the time. So yeah, and I did count the number of key presses. I do. At one occasion, that was a few years ago, but then it was almost 7 million per year. So 5 years, 35 million key presses or so. I don't know. They're of course spec'd to survive much longer than that, but I also suspect that it depends on how much sticky glue stuff I get into the keyboard and stuff like that. Breadcrumbs and whatever I get in there when I eat stuff in front of the computer or whatever. It's in a pretty good shape, but we'll see. I also have a numerical keyboard on this on this keyboard, which is totally useless. So I hope that when I get another keyboard at some point in the future, I'll get one without the numerical part, which could then allow me to have my mouse closer to the keyboard and possibly then save 10 centimeters of hand movement when I need to use the mouse. Yeah, and I think I used backspace. I use a lot, and you can see that I type like shit sometimes. So I need to backspace a lot. But I think it was when I counted my key presses, I don't think I actually counted control separately because it's different. So especially when you press several keys, sometimes you press down control and keep it down when pressing several others. Sometimes I think it's not the number of key presses, but the time the particular keys has been pressed. Caps lock to backspace. No, I have caps lock to control actually, so I can actually alter. I can use caps lock as control as well. But I'm not used to that, so it always takes me a little while to remember. But I like not having it as caps lock because that's totally useless. Wolf crypt. I'm gonna do like this to put all the wolf crypt object files its own subdirectory. I can do this in a nicer way than this, but I'll focus on getting them to build, and then I'll probably end up having to go through the make file and make it better in general later. So it's actually around lunchtime for me right now, but I'm gonna head on and get some more of this done before I go to lunch, so it'll be a little bit longer. Yeah, that's true. If they mess up other keys when removing the numerical keypad, then of course it's not a sacrifice I'm willing to do. And I want my keys on the sort of correct place that I'm used to having, so I don't want them to move them around or make them funny in any ways. Okay, those are all the crypt source files, and here are all the crypt source files, and I just need to record a macro, and I add this W thing in front of it, cut it out, paste it, and it will depend on wolf crypt lib, let's say. Paste it, add a C, wolf crypt build, and we're done. Bam, bam, boom, beam, bam. Okay, so 20 of, oh sorry, that was wrong. 20 of these, yes. Maybe 10 more. 5 more. 2 more. Okay, wolf crypt lib, wolf crypt build. Wolf crypt build, sorry, wrong key, wolf crypt build, wolf crypt build. So I'll clone the wolf build because I think they can be the same to start with. Wolf crypt lib is wolf lib, I believe, wolf crypt. I'll just build it and see. Needed by. So this is the file it tried to get. What? Pasted the wrong thing. What happened? It wasn't like that, it was crypt then source. Okay, wrong path. It's supposed to be wolf root, wolf crypt source, I think. Then it built a little bit more. Blah, 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 blah. But why did it skip the wolf crypt once? Why does it build the IO one? IO is in wolfSSL, not wolf crypt. It's not with a K, it's with a C. Is up to date, that's something. Blah blah blah. Why did it do like this now all of a sudden? Better. And now it built everything. And it fails on wolfSSL now. It's pretty good. And I like how it put everything there in a separate. And if I clean everything, clean. Yes. Decent. It's okay. What is interesting is that this doesn't build FreeRTOS at all yet, but I can, if FreeRTOS is really not a lot of code in itself. We can see here, here's the wolfSSL example, and it has two different source files for the particular example code, and I'm going to write some. I'm probably going to import basically the most simple libcurl example I can get, and I think it'll be the one called simple. So it makes an HTTPS request, and it follows redirects, and it outputs everything and standard out. So this is the example code I want to run on target. I'm not going to do it with example.com, I think, because why not? Because my target might not have a DNS. Well, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can do exactly this from my SD target. If I have a standard out. I'm not sure exactly if I can get a standard out. Otherwise, I can also just ignore the output and just verify that it actually returns okay. And if it just gets the data and returns okay, then I'm happy. Then it's fine. So okay then. So this is a pretty complete build. I haven't built the actual FreeRTOS, the actual OS parts. But that should also be a matter of just making sure that we have the right port file and we can do the right things. In this example, we can see that they use this port.c, which is for the Windows simulator. So there's a port.c for each target ports, I believe. So yeah, a little bit like that. I think I'm gonna stop at this point right now. I'm going to continue with this, but I'm gonna take off, have a lunch, and then go through a little pull requests to make sure that the status are fine on them, and work a little bit more. I'll think about it. I might do this tomorrow morning again and continue my tiny curl on target work in the morning. But so around 9ish tomorrow morning, I think. Yeah, I haven't really figured it out yet. So until another time, have a good day.